one more row. Come on in this way a little bit so I don't have to scream and yell here. Okay, when you play in the class, please, I want you to announce your name, where you're from, and all that good stuff, as well as what you're going to play.
Hi, I'm Ben Mitchell. I'm from Nacogdoches, Texas. I go to SFA there, CMF Boston, and I'm going to play Bach Minuet 1 and 2 from the first suite. And I don't normally like to make excuses, but this is not performance ready, but I would like to play it for you.
It's the perfect time to play. Just to save a little time on the repeat there. Thank you very much. Okay, this is from the first cello suite of Bach, and it's become one of our favorite pieces, one of our most important pieces. One of the harder things to do on the bass is to play Bach, partly because it wasn't written for us, so we have to try to adapt what was written for the cello to the bass and get this quality result that we want. And in that regard, I think you were capturing a lot of what happens on the cello, you were getting it to happen on the bass. And let's talk about some of those things to make sure everybody knows what that is. The first three notes on the cello would have been played like this. Open G, open D, B. It would have been a G chord. So can we emulate that on the bass? Obviously, I'm not tuned as a cello, but the cello is open string, and then a B. On the bass, we've got open G, we've got the E harmonic, and we've got the B there. So your job in these first three notes is to do exactly what the cello would do, is to get the instrument to ring, to resonate, and we, of course, have abundance of resonance. Try that once again. Okay. Good. Now what I heard was you're getting a really great bite on the first note, but in the Baroque period they wouldn't have done that. They couldn't have done that. It just didn't really happen. One good way to practice your Baroque playing is to actually hold the bow up here like they did. German bow, same thing. It's really good practice. You have to do it French style. But we hold it up here, and it's a much softer, this is how they did it. They held up here, and there's a much softer approach to the quality. There's not the aggressive accents that they have. Try holding it up here, and just let it in. So let it ring. There you go. Good. Now, what I see you doing is great. He's doing G string, and then he's using his fingers and everything to go to the D string, and then back to the G string. So I'm hearing this. That's what I'm hearing. It's 3 separate notes. What I'd like to hear is as if it's just a chord, as if you're going. Try that again. But you're overcommitting to the D. See if you go. Play them both together. That's it. So don't commit so far to the D string. Keep the G string. Just reach over and grab the D string a little bit, and then come back. Yeah, it's good. We're just watching it. It's just. There you go. That's the idea. And then what we hear is the harmony. And that's what we want to hear, so it sounds like G major as opposed to 3 separate notes. You're making the audience work too hard. What Bach wrote there was not a melody or anything. He simply wrote, oh, we're in G major. Let's play G major. Try it one more time. Try to really double stop on those first 2. That's it. That's it. Good. Now, what's the next one here? A, F sharp, and C. What kind of chord is that? A. It's a 7th, right? You hear the tritone? Is it A7, a F sharp 7, a C7? What's going on here? He's in G major. What's the most logical place a composer's going to go? Or C would be the 4th of the chord. G is 1, C is 4. Probably go to 5. Now, is there any 5 in that chord? He implies it. He implies it. He says, okay, everybody knows that the music goes from 1 and normally goes to 5. I'm going to give you 5, but I'm not going to give you D. I'm going to give you everything else. But the same idea there. Can you get... Try to get it to ring. That's the idea. Hear the A still ringing after he leaves it. That's exactly the idea. Good. And then hear what chord does he outline there. D major. And then what does he have going on here? B, D. I do 1-1 myself, or you can even go to, how can I put a thumb on that?
Yeah, that's what I've done before.
That's it. Okay. So one thing we have to do when we're playing Bach especially is we have to understand what is the harmony of the music. And that usually tells us where it's going, when it arrives somewhere, and when it pulls back. Okay, so that's one thing. The next thing is tempo. What's your thought on tempo here? You played both of them fairly similar tempo. Is one in your mind faster and one slower, or both about the same?
The first one's supposed to be a little faster than the second one, but I kind of melded them together.
Okay.
I kind of didn't go as fast as I wanted on the first one, and went faster than I wanted on the second.
Okay, and why do you say the first one should be faster than the second?
Well, because it feels more like a dance to me, and it was kind of like a fast track that I mean, the second one feels more lyrical, whereas the first one feels more like you would hear as a dance. You know,
Okay.
like it feels
Yeah, a little more sprite.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have a little vote here. Okay. Everybody, you're going to vote. So don't talk while you're listening. I want you to vote, okay? We're going to do 3 different tempos. I'll do 3 different tempos. You tell me which one you like the best for minuet number 1, which is in a major key. Sorry? Okay, that's the faster one. Now we'll go with a more medium. Tempo number 1, the fastest one? How many like tempo number 2, the medium one? Okay, we got a lot of independent voters here. I see they're halfway between Democrat and Republican. And how many like the slowest tempo? Oh, people after my heart. There we go. How do we know what the right tempo is? What you like, okay. Like I said this morning, it's not necessarily about what you like, but what you can discern in the music and bring it to life. And so that's our job, is to try and figure out what is in here that needs to be brought out. Now, I don't think we can necessarily totally define the tempo of minuet 1 until we've thought about minuet 2. And normally the major one's faster, the minor one's slower. I actually don't feel that is affected here. So what I'm going to do is, could you play now 2 different tempos? Play the faster one for me, and I'm going to dance. Okay. This faster tempo has kind of that feeling, and actually the next movement that comes after this, the jig, that's a normal feeling for the jig. So the minuet, to me, maybe has a little more pinky in the air, you know, powdered wig, women in the big skirts. Try it now much slower, as I did the slowest tempo. Different energy that the one speed has versus the other speed. Okay, so hold that in your mind. Let's switch channels over here to the second minuet. Let's take the same idea, except let's go the opposite direction. I'll start slow. See how this tempo emphasizes every beat. Let me play a faster tempo. Could you try those 2 tempos for me? Let's do the slow one first. Ready? See how, again, it's kind of foot stomping type of, and every beat has the same emphasis. I don't think you're going to win any, guys. If you ever dance a minuet, you're not going to win any hearts this way. Okay, so let's try it a little fast. Let's try it. The idea now, is it in 3 or is it in 1? That was 3. Now let's try 1. Go 2. Big motion, not such a big motion, bigger motion. Good. Now could you play it that way? I think this is a 2-bar phrase, so he's got try it. A little more emphasis just on every other bar. Hear it? Feel it? You see it? more of a gesture, and then it's repose, and then a gesture and a repose. Now, I don't have any idea if that's how they dance to it, but that, to me, is how we can get to the spirit of the music. Is it kind of foot stomping? Is it racing? Is it relaxed? Is it mellow? Is it very sophisticated, where you really hold your body up high like this, or is it more earthy, where you get down into the ground? So, what I feel with this is the first minuet is actually in 3, and the second one is in 1. They're both in 3, but you need to feel it that way. And how do we decide, again, that tempo? One is how it feels, but the other is how much material does Bach have here that he needs to express, versus how much material here is really, what is he really trying to express here? Is it, or, so you can play it like that and go, oh, that sure doesn't sound like a minuet to me, or, could you try that, just B, A, B, and all B flat? Now physically move, beautiful. So, the only thing really interesting in the second minuet here are the first 3 notes. So that tells us, oh, the rest of it is not so interesting, it's not so important that we probably have to do a faster tempo. Here, see how that tempo allowed me to really arrive on the stress. See, by doing the trill above the note, as we talked about this morning, creates stress, creates tension. Resolve. Can you try that now from the beginning? It's very different, isn't it? And part of the reason for this is if we go too fast, it begins to feel like a courant, which is the fastest movement, or a jig, which is more earthy and foot stomp. Okay, let's talk about the some of the techniques. Let's go on the second half here. This is the first minuet again. Good. Right, this fingering is not the easiest. Give me an alternative. There's 2 alternatives. That's 1. Try that. Okay, good. As I was talking earlier today, this third finger, 1, 3, well, I didn't talk about it much, but the A, it's just easier to play in tune for us, the 1, 3, than the 1, 2. And as you played 1, 2, the F sharp was a little low and the A was a little high, so it wasn't quite, it was close. But for bass, close is not good enough anymore. If you heard these, I was just up at the bass convention this last week and heard the competition winners from both the young ones and the older ones. It's, we've really arrived at a very precise and very high standard of expectation for intonation and expression and so forth, interpretation. So I think we have to use everything available to us to do the best we can. Here, it's not too fast, so second finger's not really vital, is it? So just do whatever works best for the intonation. Try that. Excellent. Okay, good, good. Now, in that phrase that he just did, is there a spot where he could take a little bit of time? And if so, why?
The bass, yeah, it's a little low A.
So the bass note. What's the note before that bass note? Could you show us? Okay, in Bach's writing, this is a very large interval. Most of what Bach has written here is within a fifth, a fourth, third, and whole steps and half steps. Then all of a sudden, he could have gone. Doesn't have much effect, does it? So he says, no, that's not strong enough, and I want not so much that we play it louder, but that we space it a little bit. And so this one note has this much room and all the other notes around it have that much room. So what note are you paying attention to? The one that goes, the one that takes a little bit of time. And what beat does that fall on? It's on 1. We're in 3. 1 is almost always the strongest beat in the dance movements, not in the preludes necessarily, but in the dance movements. So try that passage again and just take lots of time. Now pace it a little bit more. Compositional technique that composers in Baroque period did. Not just Bach, but Bach uses it all the time. So we need to recognize that and prepare it. What does he do here? That's kind of the easy way out. That's what the lesser composers did. He's saying take time by going up and then jumping way down. He could have easily just kept going up. We wouldn't have taken much time because didn't need to acoustically. Try that and get into that spot there. Just a bar before. Now take your time. The new phrase starts on the down beat. 3 pickups. So when he arrives on the sequence, he's really going to that D, which then resolves to the G. Try that. Just place it. Just tell us it's important. Good. And I would say after that D, it's not so important. And he's going strong to there, and then he comes away, as opposed to. Try again, going up to the high D. Just that was really nice what you did, and then let it come away a little bit afterwards. Sorry, take your time. Take your time. I'd love to see how. So to play choir, we got to be out here, but really, there you go. That's it exactly. Yes, isn't that incredible? Now be natural. Good. The first time it's, the second time it's. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit more obviously. It should be. Be natural there.
Yeah.
And
oh, okay.
flat there.
Oh, yeah, okay,
You
so,
see that?
I thought you meant like it's like repeat rather than.
Right, no. But just tell us, first time it's E flat, so then second time when he changes it, just a little bit, yeah. Make sure everybody understands. So, do you understand the piece better now? Do you want to return to this vacation location with these beautiful views of the bass sound and articulate phrasing and intimate dynamics sometime in the future? Hopefully so. And that's our job, is we're actually, I like to think of our job as a tour guide. We're taking you on a tour of this piece. So when you do something, you have to do it in a way that convinces them of what's happening. And of course, there's lots of elements involved there. One is not a accent on the first note. We talked about that. Just getting that harmony going. And where's the emphasis on the stress and the release and these types of things. Tempo from one movement to the next. Can the people just feel as you're playing that they want to get up and just the very natural motion to the music? That's our objective. So what I'd like you to do now is let's do the ending here again. How about B, D, da, 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 da. From there, and go on into here and show us the change from one movement to the other. You're here. Now here comes the sequence. E, wait. Is that the only way to do it? No. But what we've been talking about here is trying to discover what's in the music. Where's the emphasis? What's the speed? What's the harmony? Is it in this tempo or that tempo? All these types of things we're trying to discern by just these few little black and white cues he's put on the page here. It's pretty minimal, to be honest. He didn't really tell us very much. We didn't have metronomes back then. We didn't care about metronomes back then. So that's really terrific. So part of what we're talking about here too, just to wrap up here, is the attack or lack thereof on a bow. Do you want to? Don't just start a note like Beethoven 9. Does it go this way? I'm a bass player, and boy, this thing is forte right there. Or does it just start forte, or does it say accent? Anybody know? It just starts forte. Yeah, it doesn't say accent, and yes, yet when the basses and cellos come in, it's often, and it doesn't sound like a singer. But that's much more beautiful, artistic type of sound. And then even here on the, could you do that for me on the B flat again? And what I want you to feel is this little finger doing some of the up bow work there. You can do them separate. Yeah. Just feel it right there in your hand. Beautiful. Now watch the bow hair, keep it really consistent. Maybe a hair flatter. Beautiful, beautiful. That sound is good, the articulation's great, the quality of the sound is really, really good now. And now capture it, be able to do it every time. You got it. Thank you. By the way, Jack will, for everybody that's performing in the class, we're recording you. Jack's going to put it on a hidden YouTube channel so that you can view it. He'll give you the links to it so you can view it and study it and keep it and If you really want to post it, I guess you could do that too, but it won't be open to everybody. It's just, and certainly don't post somebody else's performance. If you want to post your own, that's up to you, but don't post anybody else's without their permission. So.
I'm Evan Musgrave. I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida, and I study at Lehman University in Conservatory of Music with Timothy Cobb. And I will be performing from the third cello suite, the Bourrées and the Gigue. Would you like me to save time and not repeat?
Yeah, let's not repeat right now, unless you do something really different.
Not really.
Not really, okay. Discussion about Bach tonight. This is great. And how many of you listen to Bach on a normal basis? Yeah? 1 or 2, 3 or 4? Okay. Do you like Bach compared to Tchaikovsky or Williams. That's as far as I go as John Williams. I don't know any. I've heard of AC/DC and Beatles. I was raised with the Beatles. They used to have a TV show. Did you guys see that?
Beatles cartoons?
Not cartoon, they were just little half hours, like sitcom. I mean, it was really corny, incredibly corny when you look back on it, but I thought it was cool at my age. The reason I ask is Bach is hard to figure out. I mean, it's hard to play, and it's in some ways harder to figure out, especially the cello is not so hard to play, so they still have the same difficulty as we do of trying to figure out what's important, what to bring out, where to breathe, where to take time, where to move ahead, or should it be absolutely strict, all of these type of questions. So I want to look at some of those. First of all, your left hand is working very well. Some of these fast things just, actually you sped up a little bit, it got away from you a little bit, and it's partly nerves of performing and a couple practice techniques you'll have. What I want to focus on, let's start with the bourrées. The bourrées are like the minuets that we just did. There's a first bourrée and a second bourrée. The first bourrée is in major, second bourrée is in. Okay, it's very predictable, and it doesn't mean it always works that way, but know that that's the general case, so you want to look for that. What does major imply here versus the minor to you?
It's
in
a
terms
more,
of dancing. You've got
it's a more of a stronger beat.
yeah, a stronger beat and a little more bouncy. And this one, is it more lyrical or more bouncy?
It's a little bit more lyrical.
Very lyrical. The line is very linear, whereas the first one is more bouncy. You can see it by the way it's composed and looks on the page, and of course you can hear it when you hear it. Okay, so how much bounciness do we have for these notes? Just play the first, just play the B natural here. So you know this rhythm. You've been singing this rhythm since you were 1 year old. Good. Now, I want you to do the same thing as Ben. Go ahead and hold the bow up here and do that same. It makes our traditional spiccato, which you're wanting to do, very hard to do. In fact, it didn't even exist in the day. So if we want to be a little more precise to the, it's really more of a brush stroke. It's more of a cat brush stroke. We did earlier today the one with for the dog. It's a little heavier and hard. This one's more just, you know, you're gently being, dusting a little bit of something off your arm there. Try that again. That's it. So the bow goes a certain amount of time and then releases from the string. It doesn't mean it necessarily comes, because you're always going to get that bounce on the string. So what we want is, look at mine. Does the hair actually leave the string? It's like it stays right on there, but I'm letting all of the weight out. When I let the weight out, what happens to the sound? It resonates. Versus. Hear the difference? Versus. Keep practicing that stroke to get that resonance and release of the sound. Nice flexible wrist, he's got a very flexible hand, that's all great, but not for this stroke so much. It's more of an arm stroke. That's it. That's better. There you go. Hear the sound now, it's nice and like a billowing balloon a little bit, not pressed down on the ground. Try it with the notes now. Let's look at just the bowing here a little bit. You went. Now the next note is a high G. There's not much bow left. Can you give me a different bowing that would give you a second?
Just start it.
We need more bow there. Okay, we could start up bow. Which beat is more important? This one or this one? Which one? first one. Which one sounds more logical? First one, yeah. Because it's the beginning and it's a downbeat. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. If we really wanted to analyze it, it's a little bit like that second minuet a minute ago. Bum, bum, strong. Let's hear and easy. So what I would recommend probably here is do your up there. And try to make it sound like sound like separate bows. Try that. Yes. Good. Brush, brush. There we go. I think brush is a good terminology for this stroke. Brush stroke. We're going to brush this. That sounds really good to me. Now, some people might say a little bit short, a little more articulate. That's fine. But not probably spiccato. Just because it didn't really exist in that day. That stroke did. Good. Try that now. Stronger on the first three, weaker on the next two. Good. And then we just have to match. They're pretty much the same stroke now, as opposed to what I'm hearing here. You have a totally different legato. So you can get the first ones the same. Okay. Now here broader. Try to not be so flexible here, just more one unit as the arm works. There you go. Oh yeah. Keep going. So what we've done is we go, oh, Bach's given us a moving line like this. So what are the other notes? They're just, yeah. He's filling in the silence. So instead of going, if this was with keyboard, you might have some notes in the keyboard right there while you rest. But he doesn't, so he fills in a little bit because it's unaccompanied. That much separation between the two lines. Okay, that's the idea. That's the idea. Exactly. And then when you come back to this, get right back to that bow stroke. So for the first beret, that eighth note bow stroke is the same all the time. And a good way to practice it is just So instead of all the notes sounding this way, we've got G major. Play those two for me, the D, B. Good, exactly how you do it. Play long on the first note, play the second note, but release it. Ba, da. That's the idea. Good, so it's not. So, okay, that's romantic. We throw it over there. We'll get back to it when we play Tchaikovsky. Now we're going to see how that has a kind of a sophistication to it and there's elegance to it as well. So try this G major. I want to hear G major. That's all I want to hear. I don't want to hear. You don't really hear G major. You just hear ba 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 ba. Try that. Good. And I would suggest changing your bowing here too. Because it's G major now that we're doing. You've just been doing two slurred, two separate. Where did you see that earlier today? You want that? What that does then is it helps you. Oh, you got a pencil? Somebody taking notes over there, I think, has a pencil. Come on, come on, come on. Give it a try. Wow. Hey. Wow. Thank you very much. Good. Just try it right from there now. 3 slurs, so you don't have to do much on the up. D. The emphasis is on the downbeat. Same thing there. D. You hear how it's the exact same thing. Yeah, that's the idea. It's exactly the same. Okay, very good. Now, let me see the start of beret number 2. Good. What was the one note that was out of tune? Very hard to play with 4th finger, especially coming back this way. Now watch my hand. He's on 3 on A, 1 on G. How far away is F sharp with 4th finger? Here's F sharp, there's 4th finger. It's the furthest possible distance that you can do. So it's the hardest fingering possible. What if we went to one that was a little easier? See how 3 is a lot closer to F sharp. 4, you really have to change your whole hand shape. Try just that right there. 3, 1, 3, 1. Beautiful. Did you hear it? Is that the first time you've ever done that?
I think that's the second time.
Second time. Okay. But how many times have you practiced it the other way?
A lot more.
1,000 probably. I mean, the comparison is probably 1,000 to 1. This was perfectly in tune the first time. And usually when a fingering or a bowing sounds better the very first time you do it and you haven't practiced it, it's probably better. And the reason it's better, or not better, it just works more easily, therefore you're able to get it more easily, is because it's more efficient. Just usage of the way the hand's made. And you've got a good strong hand, but don't create a hurdle that you have to jump over. Always try to eliminate the hurdles. That's a good way to do that. Just go 3, 1, 3, 1. The problem is, every one of you, and myself included, was taught what on F sharp? There might be an exception in this room somewhere. We were all taught 4th finger. And it's just, it's part of the evolution of our development of playing is that we find ways to do certain things even better, and they become standard as time goes by. Okay, good. Now, what I'd like to suggest, the first time it goes, second time I'd like to suggest this. Try this second time. It's 1 bar, 1 bow per whole bar.
Did you? Okay, so you did include the.
I did, yeah.
First one.
Down. Just because it's part of the line. It's not vada V, it's vada E, more linear this way. See how this bowing just flows? There's no interruption to the line. See how that's totally different than than just doing 2 bars per bow. He just did 1 bar per bow. It changes the nature. So that's what I would do on the repeat, is change the nature. So then you're not only contrasting the first time through with the second time through, but you're really contrasting the first array with the second array. And now what I really like there at the end is you came all the way down the G string. Kept the sound very consistent. But over here you went over to the D string and broke up the sound. I would suggest here just stay. Or maybe the first time. And the second time you could even just go up the D string or something. You can make a variation when you repeat it. But think about the sound. It's not so fast that you need to go across the string. Right? If it was really fast, then yeah, we take the fastest fingering. But here it's still very lyrical. It's very linear, like we talked about this morning. This is a good example. Speed fingers, lyrical fingerings, right? We talked about that this morning. Which one is this? But it's very fast, isn't it? It's not slow, but it has a more singing. Whereas over here, it's not. It's not lyrical. It's more bouncy, and so string crossings work great over there. Okay, those are my main points. And then you have this circle, so let's hear right from there. If we could. Any of this.
I did do a wrong bowing there.
This here. Good. In the Verdi we did this morning, the Otello solo, what did we talk about? One of the expressive devices. It comes all the way from here, and probably long before this as well. But the appoggiatura, Bach is writing, but he's going. Puts a different note. He puts the note above first, and that's the stress note. So it creates tension, resolution, tension, resolution, tension, resolution. Can you do that? Just like that. So you have to release the second note, a little more stress on the first note. Try that. Good. Not quite brave enough yet. Let's let go of the safety rope there. Let it go into the air. Go. And just do 2 notes, not faster. Good. Now we still want to hear the second note, so we're almost not hearing it now. Could you do? Hear how it's a little bit clearer? What would you give it? 5%? 10% maybe? 8? Shall we say 7.5? Do I hear 9? 11? 11 in the back. It makes it just a little bit better. It's not going to be, there's nothing we can do that's going to change it profoundly, 100% different overnight. But by being a little clearer here, that's a lot clearer than just lifting your finger up. But just really helps create clarity. Try that one more time. A little more bow on the first note. Yeah. Release, release. Good. How could you write that in music? Maybe a dot and a line over the second note, maybe?
Yeah.
That's the Baroque appoggiatura. Emphasis release. Point that out a lot this week. Appoggiatura. Okay, and let's just take a brief look at these. Let's do the opening first. So what's the predominant bowing of this movement, since we've been talking so much about bowing? Just now, it's 3 notes in a bar for the most part, 2 slurred, 1 up, 2 down, 1 up. And I heard 2 or 3 different interpretations of it. I think each one could be, you should strive to get everyone the same. That last one where you went, where you put a slide in there and really connected it. That's what we don't want. Yeah. That was probably it there. If we connect it, let's dial. And classical is almost exactly the same as this in the Baroque. Hear how that second note still resonates? I don't play it very long. Just take E and a D there, if you would. Here is the third note now. He's playing it nice and long, but releasing it also. Bum, 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 bum. Good. Now let's just do D. Lift after the elbow. Yes. Almost. No. Yes. Good. Do you hear the slight variations you're getting there? Some are. Again, it's very romantic. How much am I releasing it? Not a lot, but enough to create this resonance, allow the resonance out of the bass. Otherwise, I'm going. Pressing the sound down a little bit. It's more projecting, but it's not the style we're looking at. Take it really slow now, lift. And. Good, more. Now 2 notes. Dum, ta, and speed it up. That's exactly. And release. Long release. Long release. Faster. 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Try those notes now. They ring so nicely. The G and D. That's right. Get these 2 to ring. Two last things, sorry. Can you go on right here? And, everybody watch. Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Keep it going. Okay, good. I'm going to do it too so you can see it here. Just what you're doing here is you're hitting, the wrist is doing most of it. Problem is if the wrist does it, the hair angle changes. But if we do just the fingers, you see how the hair angle stays exactly the same. I don't know this passage as well, but the one from the first suite. See my arm on nuts, doing the chicken wing. Same thing with German. I'm not doing a lot there, so I'm keeping it more in the hand. And so just take this exercise we worked on this morning, apply it here as much as you can. I would just take 2 notes. Try it again and see if you can feel like you're throwing the bow down to the D and raise it up to the G. Yeah, throw it down. Yes, that's it. Get it in your fingers. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. And then that applies, of course, on the other spot as well. And then the spot you had the most trouble with were these run things. So, I have 2 ways to suggest you practice it. One is all 6 slurred, because it's harder. And if you can do it with all 6 slurred, then doing it with 3 slurred and 3 separate, it's going to be much easier. So, it's like doing our rhythms this morning. We do it so we make it more complicated. Could you try one of these for me? Let's do this one. 6 slurred. That's the idea. Okay. So now within the 6 slurs, let's do the rhythms. Let's do la da ba da dee do. This is the first rhythm. Ready, all sixler, go. Va-da-va-da,
Yeah.
va-da-va-da-va-da. Okay, good. Very good. Now the second rhythm, which is da-va-dee-va-da. This one's a little easier, isn't it, in this case? Don't practice it. Let's go on to the third one now. Ba-ba-ba-dee-dee-da. Oh no, it's a six pattern, so let's go. Ba-yada-bee-yada, ba-yada-bee-yada. Ready? Ba-ba-dee-da-da. Yes. That's much more complicated than the last one, wasn't it? And then find other ways to make it more complicated. Ba-da-bee-da-dee-da-dee-da, ba-dee-dee-da-dee-da. Try that. Two slower, 4 frets. Yeah, that's right. That's it. Good. Then go back to your bowing and use these same rhythms. Ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-da-dim, ba-dim, ba-da. Ba-da-da-ba-da-da, ba-da-da-ba-da-da. There's some of them that are really going in confusion, but once you've got control of it, when it's harder, guess what? Playing it normally is going to be easier. And that's how we progress. Using rhythms not just for speed, but for coordination and gaining control of what we're working on. Make sense? Bravo. Work a lot on that bow, and that'll make all the difference in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go another half hour. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, I am Raven Solis. I am from Costa Rica, and I have been playing Contrabajando by Venezuela.
Good. slower. Beat a little bit slower. Beat it up, body. This is a piece that I've published. It's obviously originally with piano, or actually it's originally with a tango band. And at the ISB convention, how many of you were there? There were a couple of you that were there, right? Yeah, look at quite a few. Did you hear Juan Pablo Navarro give his lecture on tango? He's like the #1 bass player in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I had the pleasure of hearing him when I was there, the one time I was there, and then he came up to the convention and gave a talk on how to play tango. And one thing we tend to do with tango least for this piece, I find maybe we try to play it too fast. You know? And that happens too when we get a little nervous, and also without the piano there to hold us back a little bit. Right? Ba, 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 ba. We want to make sure it has that kind of held back feeling and not racing ahead. Okay, so let's work on a couple things. One is, I know this instrument, he just got it today. It's the first time he's had a chance to play it. So it's not fair to try to know where all the notes are. But I want to look at your left hand organization and thumb position a little bit more. Bass. And I want to look at your vibrato. Let's start with your vibrato. Let's just take a note here. Just match that. This is the pitch. That's it. Good. Now you naturally have a fast vibrato. Your vibrato is a little, makes me a little nervous. So what we need to do is to slow it down. How do we slow it down? We're going to work on this tomorrow probably in technique class in terms of vibrato. But what I'd like you to do is, everybody needs to find their natural speed of vibrato. So I'm going to find it for you. Go ahead and just play that note again. Yeah. Listen to his oscillations of the vibrato. He's doing 4 per beat. And oscillations, you notice, keep going, they're becoming more clear. You can hear them more clearly because he's thinking about it a little bit. Now let's try to slow it down just a little bit. More silent, more slow. Try to slow it down just a little more. Okay. So this is your natural speed. It's about 80 or so, maybe 78 on the metronome. So start there. Everybody needs to start there. Just find your speed. My natural speed will be is here. And then we go slower, little by little. And wider with the vibrato. And then we start at our natural speed. Right now, you need to get control of the vibrato. Then, entonces, más, slower. And you can practice that. I think it's really good to practice here. Maybe D. Just try second. Very nice. So keep going. Try to make it wider. There. Very nice. You hear how it's more relaxed? Quality. We're not feeling tense in our stomach. Open that wider. Relax the bow. Relax the bow. Yes. Very good. Just like that. Smile. Smile. Life's not so hard. Okay. Then let's try a low B flat down here. It's too fast for such a low pitch, but that's all right. We get control of it, and then little by little we go slower. So I recommend with the metronome, find your speed, whatever is comfortable to you, 4 oscillations per 1 beat, and just play a note here, just work on it, and maybe play a note here, first finger, 4th finger, whatever. You might have a different speed for each finger, that's okay. You notice his 2nd finger, he was able to go a little slower than you were with your 1st finger, was a little bit faster. 4th finger maybe on F. This is the hardest area for vibrato, so don't focus on this area. Focus on these other areas. And thumb position, same thing. That's it. Your natural speed. Good. Now the motion in thumb position goes this way, goes more at an angle, whereas down here it's more vertical, goes up and down. But as we get here now, the motion starts to go more this way because it's coming from the elbow. It's the most important thing to remember. Try this one. Just go. Yeah, there. See the elbow? Right here. Perfect. Now faster. That's the motion, and then put it right here. Very good. Faster is fine. Yeah. Keep going. Let it get a little wider. Is that okay? Okay. That will come with time, but you're going to have to take it one note at a time, just with the metronome. The next week, one notch slower on the metronome. The next week, one notch slower on the metronome. The next week, no faster than that. No faster than that. Okay, good. Now, we need to get your left hand organized in thumb position. It's a little too chaotic. You know chaotic? Yeah. A little, it's just not as efficient as it needs to be. So the best way to do that is some of the technical exercises we did not do today. We're going to do them tomorrow. 3-note progressive. On the scale, can you try that for me? Okay. Now listen to the intonation. Which note is a little out of tune? The third finger is a little what? Was it the third finger's fault or was it the first finger's fault? Outro vez. In the first finger, it was a little high, so the third finger had no choice but to also play high. So now he's listening to the A and he's pulling it back, and that's very important. Then we go to A flat. After that's going to be La. The hardest thing to do, I think, in thumb position, intonation, is the half steps and the whole steps and determining the distance between them. This is what I usually hear. I suggest third finger. We go across the strings here this way. Third finger helps a lot in this area. Then same thing on the quartet do re. A string. So forth. And then the other exercises we do. Then you know, oh, there's a whole step, there's a major third, there's a half step, whole step, minor third, whole step, half step. You begin to see it, you begin to feel it, and of course, you need to hear it as well. So there's really three things that we have to do. We have to be able to visualize it, see it. Oh, if this is me, where's law? Right there. If this is law, where's C? It's right there. We have to see it. And then we have to feel it. What does it feel like? And then, of course, what does it sound like? This will help all of this piece here, because right now it's you're guessing a little bit. What do I mean by guessing? It's not 100% sure. And you need to find that. How are you going to do that? By practicing. I know it seems, I just want to play music. That's great, but if anybody wants to listen to you play music, if you want anybody to listen to you play music, you want to, besides Grandma. My grandfather, he used to listen to me and he'd say, I was going to make you some money someday, son. He did, he told me that a number of times. And hasn't made much yet, but 4 kids through college, so hey, at least have that much money. All right. Okay, so vibrato and intonazione. Yeah, are the two main keys. And we talked about vibrato, intonation. A lot of practice and shifting. Naturally, this flow of this motion is for the shifting. It's very good. So we just need to work more on the definition of the pitches from position. And there's another exercise tomorrow that will help us a lot with this, and that's the thirds exercise. Practice with a tuner, with a tune with the pitch. That's very good. You record yourself and listen. Sometimes keep doing that. It's very good. And just as this will be.